Hey everybody, Mark Coxon, the AV Phenom with my latest in the Technology as Food series. And today I'm going to tell you a little bit about how LED is like a parfait. You ever ask anybody if they want to go get a parfait, they say, hell no, I don't like no parfaits. Everybody likes parfaits, right? So what do we have in an LED? Well, we have multiple layers in an LED. And there are 3 different flavors of LED out there, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But in the basics, I'm not going to get super technical here, but in the basics, you have a board. So think of your wafer layer, there's a board, there's some glue, there's a reflective layer, there's a sapphire crystal with the electronics. And then on the top of the LED are the cathode and the anode. What are those? Well, it's a diode. It has a cathode and an anode on the LED itself. That's passing electricity through that, creates the light. That's why it's called a light emitting diode, or LED. Well, if you take these bananas on top of my parfait as the cathode and anode, what happens to these bananas as they sit on top of this parfait over time? Well, they oxidize, they can get bruised, they're subject to the environment. And in a normal SMD type LED, the connections are right on top and they're not coated in anything, they're not protected from anything. So that makes them very easy to repair, which is the positive, but it also makes them more susceptible to damage, moisture, oxidation, which is the negative. So in most chip on board and glue on board type LED products, what they do, and there's a technical process, technical difference between the two, I'll let you look that up, but what they do in general is they create a resin or a glue layer over the top of those electronics to make sure that they're sealed up a little more, and it keeps them protected. But they're still towards the surface of the LED. It does reduce damage and it does increase reliability over time. But there's one other way that you can change the LED in order to do that, and that's something called flip chip. In a flip chip LED, you still have the board, you still have the adhesive layer, but what they do is they put the cathode and the anode, my bananas, they put them down here, right next to the board. Then they put the rest of the layers, and then they still encompass it in a glue, resin, whatever at the top, to make sure that it's all sealed up and ready to go. But what this does is 2 things. Number one is it actually lets more light from these layers through because you don't have any electronics on the surface for the anode and cathode. But also what it does is it actually creates a more efficient heat sink in that the heat from the electricity actually goes backwards through the board easier than it would in a stack like this where it has to travel through all these layers to get out the back. So when you think about LED, think about parfaits, think about flip chip as changing the layers, and then get a spoon and dig in. Happy Friday. Take care.